Hey, what is up guys? It's your boy Speed here, and today we're going to be talking about 7 sins of Dota that you don't know. These are 7 plays or ideas that you guys probably haven't heard of that are actually holding you back in Dota. So without further ado, let's hop into it. By the way guys, if you want to become absolutely broken, well, what you need to do is sign up to the GameLeap website down below right now. The reason why you should do that is because every single day we post a new video there. Content that you simply just will never get on YouTube, we post every single day to the website. It's really top tier stuff. I'm very proud of what I make over there. We also have other creators, many of my great friends who are top tier Dota players, creating guides about different heroes, different roles, different items, skill builds, talent builds, everything you need to know to get to the next rank. So if you feel a little bit lost, you're a little bit stuck, click the link down below. I'll see you guys there. And now let's get into the video. For the first sin that I want to talk about, we're going to go with a small but I would say very important item detail. One thing that I notice with a lot of players when they buy Kaya is they don't understand the importance of abusing what I would consider maybe the most important aspect of the item, which is mana regen amplification. So the first sin of the video is basically not buying clarities and spamming mana regen when you get a Kaya. Just for a bit of demonstration, you'll notice that currently I have 1.1 mana regen. Clarities gives 6 mana regen. That's going to put me up to 7.1. Now, in comparison, if I'm holding a Kaya and I pop a Clarity, it's going to give me 9 mana regen. Just like the item says, that's a 50% mana regen amplification, right? Bringing me from 2.9 to 11.9, right? Literally 50% more. And now you have to consider, let's say you're playing a hero like Storm or Leshrac, I honestly think that people should be buying every single game Clarities very consistently, Raindrops, Sage's Mask for their Orchid, anything along the lines to buff your mana regen as you're going to get 50% more value. The next sin, and this might be the biggest one of the video, is not force attacking when trading in lane. Most supports are awful at trading and they don't even know it. So this right here is one of the most important fundamentals of trading that almost no one uses. If you pull up your settings here and you go to attack move, force move, you're going to have a command. I think it's A for most people. That's the default. Mine is spacebar, doesn't really matter. But basically, when you click it, it's going to turn your cursor to red. Then if you left click in an area, it's going to cause you to hit the nearest unit. Why this is important is because when you're trading, let's say I'm trying to attack someone who I know is in this area. If I just try to right click them, I'm going to have to find them and then click. That's going to take me at least 0.5 seconds. If I'm bad, even longer. However, if you force attack, it's instant and everything matters. Literally everything matters, right? So as I come out of the trees here, I instantly attack. I'll do that again, right? I just force attack anywhere in the location and I hit. So you don't have to know where they are to hit them right away. It's like a cheat code to just trading significantly better. Like, think about it, guys. Like, if you're not doing this, you are just annihilating your ability to trade. And so for a bit of perspective, the way you trade most efficient, just to give the crash course, is you hit at a force attack, you eat a tango, and then you hit. Now, if you have a spell, you want to hit, spell, hit, right? And that's how you maximize your trades. So the next tip is also another item tip, and that is that smoke gives 15% movement speed. I know I stress that people need to be using this item significantly more, but I don't even think most people know that Smoke of Deceit literally just gives you 15% movement speed when you activate it. I mean, think about it, guys. 15% movement speed is ridiculous. If you just compare it to Boots, which gives you 45 movement speed, 15% movement speed is significantly higher than that in almost every circumstance. So, for instance, if you have 400 movement speed and you pop a Smoke, it's going to up you by 60 movement speed, while Boots' speed will only up you by 45. So you can imagine the value of smoke is not only the fact that people can literally not see you coming, which is pretty freaking good in and of itself. They can remove the movement speed and people would still pop smokes 24/7. But on top of that, if you're trying to get to the enemy Luna who's farming your ancients and you want to make sure you get to her before she finishes the cam, smoke is even more important because it makes you significantly faster. And you gotta know that. The next sin is buying clarities when you're out of mana. Now, you're like, what? Buying clarities when I'm out of mana? That seems to make a lot of sense, frankly. That seems like the exact time when you would buy clarities. And actually, yeah, it kind of is, but But if you want to be really good at Dota, you have to understand that this is a sin mentality, alright? This is, God would not approve of this. Basically, you need to buy clarities when you're full mana. You have to anticipate that you're going to run out of mana. Let me put this simply, guys. What I'm about to say is going to sound stupid simple, and it is. Are you going to use mana in Dota? Yes or no? On every hero. Are you going to use mana? Yes. Okay. Are you going to run out of mana? Maybe not because you suck. But you should, okay? You should. So, are you going to need clarities at some point? Yes. Okay. Let me set up another example. When you team fight, do you want to be able to cast all of your spells? Obviously. So, if you ship clarities when you are out of mana, and not when you are full mana, or at least 3/4 or half mana, you are going to show up to fights without enough mana to cast your spells. You know how many juggernauts show up to fights early game and then they can only cast Omni Slash and not Healing Word or Spin, or the other way around? You know how bad that is? You know how much that's gonna hold you back and how often that happens? And this happens on tons of heroes. It could be PA, Slark, Storm, doesn't matter. People's ability to manage their mana is horrendous. The next sin is more of a theory idea, but it's very important nonetheless. Basically, this one requires you to be playing support, 5 or 4, it doesn't really matter. Okay, every single game when you're playing support, one thing you should do as the game starts is actually pay attention to what the matchup is. You want to look at your mid heroes and say, number 1, are they going to buy bottle? And number 2, is my opponent going to buy a bottle, right? Are they both going to buy bottle? Now, if they both buy bottle, it is particularly important, especially if it is a heavy trading lane, that you contest the runes, if possible. Of course, Dota is a game of exceptions. If you happen to be taking a team fight in your lane, or a mini skirmish in your lane, a 2v2 in your lane, and it's around the 4-minute mark, yeah, odds are you're not going to be able to contest the rune. But this is something to consider. For instance, if you have a Storm Spirit versus Ember Spirit matchup, this is a matchup that naturally trades quite a bit. Flame Guard damages Storm, Storm just naturally autos the Ember Spirit. They both heavily require on trading mana and HP consistently. So, if you manage to deny a water rune and get a water rune from one of the opponents, you are going to put your mid lane in a ridiculously good spot to win the lane. Combine that with then stealing their bounty rune, not, only a minute later, less considering it's going to take time to move after the bounty rune. I mean, you're dominating, right? You're going to dominate the lane. If they don't get a 2 or 3 minute rune and your mid laner gets both, there is almost no way they're going to be able to play the lane. I mean, it just makes sense. Unless, your mid laner's worse, which I know you guys probably always think is the case, but nonetheless, just keep that in mind. It's one of those ideas that's really, really deadly. I even had in one of my in-houses, my boy Tahu freaking playing Meepo support, unironically contested both of my water runes. I couldn't get them, and I was against Alina, and I couldn't play the game. Like, no joke, it didn't matter that he's a Meepo support. It doesn't change anything. I couldn't get runes in a matchup where I desperately needed runes, and so I didn't have a good game. And so yeah, it's big. Next up is one that really pains my heart, and it's something that almost no one genuinely understands. You might have heard the concept before, but you don't really execute on it properly. And that is forcing your team to dive in a fight. Now, I know it's like, I'm going to skip over this. I've heard this a million times. Don't dive the high ground. But it goes further than that, okay? I want you guys to think about TI, Collapse Magnus. Why in the world is Skewer such a good ability, right? It might seem simple. It's like bring the enemy to your team. But why is that so valuable? It's deeper than you think. Yes, it does just allow you to get a follow-up grip into an easy pick-off, but it's further than that. It's the fact that your team gets to stay in position. If you were just to RP someone, right, let's say every single time Collapse skewered someone, he just RP'd them instead. You'd probably be like, oh, right, if I give you a survey and I'm like, oh, you could either RP this person or skewer them, almost everyone would be just like, yeah, you should just RP them, right? Because it's a stun, it does damage, right? Like, it's like, why wouldn't I just RP them? That's not the point. Skewering someone is often 10 times better, even though it doesn't literally stun them, even though it kind of does during the, It's better because it lets your team stay out of vision and in position. If the enemy team has to dive into you, right, to get a kill, what's going to happen? They're naturally going to separate, they're going to isolate themselves, which is the same thing, but you just want to pick off the person who then separates. And your Drow is going to get to stay in the back. Your Mars is going to get the front line. Your Underlord's going to get the front line. Your Luna or your Deuce is going to get to stay in the back or in the middle. You get the point. Your team gets to stay in position. Your team also will get to fight into their vision, literally wards. If you skewer someone into your team, and I know I'm really harping on skewer, but that's just because this is like the biggest, mispositioning spell in the game, one of the biggest mispositioning spells in the game. So it's like the most really egregious spell, but I'll go into some other examples. You get to then bring them literally into your observer wards. That's gonna let your lion get off a good hex on a storm, right, etc., etc. You get the point. I cannot stress how big of a deal this is. It's why going high ground is so bad most of the time, because you naturally, basically put your entire team out of position almost every single time. Now, to get into a different example, for instance, I was just playing Ember Spirit. My team was ahead, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna force the nearest fight. We should probably win it. You know what happened? I remnanted forward into the enemy team. I got jumped, not surprisingly. My team wasn't able to help me right away because I remnanted forward. You could imagine, you could put this exact scenario with a Blink Axe, a Blink Shaker. You initiate too far, your team cannot follow you up, you just die, and then you're like, oh, where's my team? Well, maybe they don't have a Blink Dagger or a Remnant, and you put yourself wildly out of position. You force your team to chase up a hill into no vision, and we lost the fight. We lost the fight. And funny enough, literally the fight before that, my AM did the exact same thing. We lost 2 team fights in a row, and you can imagine what happened. We lost the game. And the last and final sin of the video, hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, smash the like button and subscribe to the channel. It means a lot. I really put a lot of effort into this video. Hopefully you guys noticed that, and yeah, let's get into the last sin. All right, and for our last and final point, we gotta talk about using finisher spells, long range or mobility finisher spells first. Now, this one is very complex, so I'm gonna have to spend a little bit of time on it, but nonetheless, let's hop into it. So, looking at Drow, what people do wrong is they basically lead every single engagement with their E. Or, on the contrary, they just never use it. Now, what's important to understand about Drow's E is the range, okay? This is the first part of it. It literally reaches to here. That is wildly farther than your right-click range. It's almost double. So, if you are trying to maximize damage on a target that is high HP and likely can get away, if you lead with your multi-shot and then try to chase with frost arrows, you are less likely to get the kill because they will get out of range. So let's assume Axe is currently being Fiend's Gripped. I just want to auto-attack him. I should literally only auto-attack him. However, when Fiend's Grip ends and he starts to be able to run, that is when I should use my E and finish off the kill. And that's literally it. But the amount of people who have no idea that that's even a concept is actually insane, but it makes sense. It's kind of a weird idea. Now, there are other abilities like this. For instance, Jug, Spin, Slark, Pounce. I'm not going to get into that today. I've covered it in other videos. Maybe you can find it there. But the last thing I do want to mention to make sure you guys don't overcommit on this idea is, let's say a team fight breaks out, okay? And Axe has a Blink Dagger. I should not try to walk up to him and hit him because I want to save multi-shot to finish the kill. In that case, I should actually specifically use multi-shot to cancel Blink Daggers and keep myself at a safe position, considering I am playing Drow, right? So circumstances change the execution. If you feel in danger at all, you can use it first to zone, to slow, to cancel blinks. However, if you have free reign and you're just ripping into someone, especially this happens in the laning stage, in order to finish off kills when you are chasing, you should use multi-shot as late as humanly possible. Nonetheless, thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you learned a lot from today's video. You can start to improve your gameplay. The funny thing is I can probably make a video with like 100 sins. That is why Dota is such a great freaking game. It's just, there's endless things to learn. Really, there's literally endless things to learn and improve on. But nonetheless, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one, and I'm out. Peace! And that's all, but remember, before you leave, before you tune out, subscribe to the GameLeap website where we are going to help you get to the next rank. If you're stuck, click the link down below, and I'm out. Peace.